Welcome back to Infidelity Tales Lab. We're incredibly grateful for your support. Before we begin today's tale, tell us, which city or country are you joining us from? We love connecting with our global audience. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1. Cracks in the Foundation. Devin Mercer's life had been built on precision. As a structural engineer, he understood that even the smallest miscalculation could bring down an entire building. At 42, his meticulous attention to detail had earned him respect at Montgomery Construction, where he'd worked for the past 8 years. His colleagues often joked that Devin could spot a hairline fracture from 50 feet away. That Thursday morning in September began like any other. Devin rose at 5:30 a.m., careful not to wake his wife Talia, who remained nestled under their Egyptian cotton sheets. He studied her for a moment, the slope of her shoulder, the cascade of auburn hair against the pillow. After 11 years of marriage, she still captivated him. Devin leaned down to kiss her temple before heading to the shower. Under the hot spray, he noticed a burning sensation when urinating. It had been bothering him for a few days, but he dismissed it as nothing serious. Perhaps it was time to see a doctor. In the kitchen, Devin prepared coffee and reviewed the blueprints for the Riverside Development Project. His phone buzzed with a text from Talia. Working late tonight. Dinner with clients. Don't wait up. Another late night, the third this week. Talia's career as a marketing executive at Pinnacle Industries had been demanding lately, especially since her promotion 6 months ago when Bryce Holloway took over as CEO. Devin arrived at his office to find an invitation to the annual Montgomery Construction Christmas party sitting on his desk. December seemed far away, but Harrison Montgomery, the company's founder, believed in planning ahead. Devin's immediate supervisor, Neil Wyatt, poked his head in. Morning, Devin. We need the stress analysis for the West Wing by end of day. Already completed, Devin replied, handing over a folder. I included some concerns about the foundation specifications. Neil nodded appreciatively. This is why you're the best. Hey, did you hear about the merger talks? Pinnacle Industries might be acquiring us. Devin's eyebrows raised. Pinnacle? That's where Talia works. Small world. Their CEO, what's his name, Holloway? He's scheduled to tour our facilities next week. Could be good for all of us. After Neil left, Devin called his doctor to schedule an appointment for the following morning. He then immersed himself in work, ignoring the persistent discomfort that had been plaguing him. That evening, Devin returned to an empty house. Since Talia would be working late, he decided to tackle the leaky faucet in their en-suite bathroom. As he rummaged through Talia's vanity drawer looking for the plumber's business card he'd stashed there, his hand brushed against an unfamiliar box of medication. Curious, he examined it. A prescription for azithromycin in Talia's name, dated 2 weeks prior. The doctor's notes mentioned treating chlamydia. Devin froze, medication box in hand. Chlamydia was an STD. He knew enough about medicine to understand that. But Talia had never mentioned any infection. And if she had chlamydia, Devin glanced down at his own body, connecting the dots to his recent symptoms. His phone buzzed with another text from Talia. Meeting running long. Staying downtown tonight. See you tomorrow. Devin sat on the edge of the bathtub, the box still in his hand, as the first hairline fracture appeared in the foundation of his marriage. Chapter 2. Diagnosis. The waiting room at Dr. Russell Perlman's office was mercifully empty when Devin arrived the next morning. He'd called in sick to work, something he'd done only twice in 8 years, claiming food poisoning. When a nurse called his name, Devin followed her mechanically, his mind churning with possibilities and denials. Perhaps there was an innocent explanation. Maybe Talia had contracted chlamydia non-sexually. Or perhaps the medication was for something else entirely. Dr. Perlman, a man in his 60s with salt and pepper hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, reviewed Devin's symptoms with clinical detachment. How long have you been experiencing the burning sensation? About a week, Devin replied, his voice hollow. After a physical examination and urine sample, Dr. Perlman confirmed what Devin had already suspected. He had chlamydia. It's a common bacterial infection, completely curable with antibiotics, Dr. Perlman assured him, writing out a prescription. We'll need to treat your wife as well, even if she's asymptomatic. My wife, She already has a prescription, Devin said quietly. For azithromycin. I found it yesterday. Dr. Perlman's expression shifted subtly. I see. And did she mention her diagnosis to you? No, she didn't. The doctor cleared his throat. Mr. Mercer, I need to be clear about something. This particular strain of chlamydia you have is relatively rare in the United States. It's primarily transmitted through intimate contact. There's no other way you would have contracted it. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. Are you saying? I'm saying that both you and your wife have the same uncommon strain. The implication is that you've shared an infection vector. An infection vector, Devin repeated numbly. A common source of infection, Dr. Perlman clarified gently. In cases like this, that typically means another sexual partner. Devin accepted the prescription with a trembling hand. How long until the test results come back? To confirm, we should have them by Monday. But based on your symptoms and the presence of the medication in your home, I'm confident in the diagnosis. As Devin left the clinic, his phone chimed with a text from Talia. Home early tonight. Dinner? He didn't respond. Instead, he drove to a pharmacy 10 miles from her neighborhood to fill his prescription, paranoid about running into anyone he knew. The pharmacist explained the dosage, a one-time treatment, and warned against sexual activity for 7 days. Not going to be a problem, Devin muttered. That night, he feigned exhaustion, claiming his food poisoning had left him drained. Talia kissed his forehead and left him alone, retreating to the guest room to let him rest. From the master bedroom, Devin heard her on the phone, speaking in hushed tones. Over the weekend, Devin observed Talia like a scientist studying a specimen. She seemed normal, making breakfast, suggesting a movie, complaining about work politics. But now he noticed the small details. How she turned her phone away when texting, her vague explanations about where she'd been, the faint scent of unfamiliar cologne when she returned from running errands. On Monday morning, Dr. Perlman called to confirm the test results. Chlamydia, the rare strain he'd mentioned. Devin thanked him and hung up, a cold clarity settling over him. He opened his laptop and began researching private investigators. By Monday afternoon, Devin had hired Marlene Vasquez, a former police detective turned PI who specialized in infidelity cases. He provided her with Talia's schedule, the location of Pinnacle Industries, and a retainer. I don't want confrontation, Devin explained. I need evidence. Concrete, undeniable evidence. Marlene nodded. Most clients do. May I ask why you suspect your wife's infidelity involves her workplace? Devin hesitated before sharing the detail about the STD and the connection to Pinnacle Industries. Call it an engineer's intuition. The structural integrity of my marriage has been compromised, and I believe the point of failure originates there. 3 days later, Marlene sent Devin a secure link to a folder containing photographs. Talia entering a boutique hotel near Pinnacle's headquarters, followed 30 minutes later by a tall man with silver-streaked dark hair whom Devin recognized immediately from company websites and press releases. Bryce Holloway, CEO of Pinnacle Industries. The structural engineer in Devin recognized that the foundation had not just cracked, it had completely failed. Chapter 3. The Architect of Vengeance. The manila envelope sat on Devin's desk like a bomb waiting to be defused. Inside were printouts of the photographs Marlene had taken over 2 weeks of surveillance, along with detailed logs of Talia's movements. The evidence was comprehensive and damning. His wife was having an affair with Bryce Holloway, the CEO of Pinnacle Industries, the same company rumored to be acquiring Montgomery Construction. Devin stared at his reflection in the darkened computer screen. The face that looked back seemed older, shadows beneath eyes that had once sparkled with optimism. Now, they held something else, a cold, calculated determination. His phone buzzed with a text from Neil. Holloway's visiting the office tomorrow. All senior staff to meet in conference room at 10. The timing couldn't have been more perfect or more excruciating. Devin would come face to face with the man who was sleeping with his wife. The man who had passed a rare strain of chlamydia to Talia, who had then passed it to Devin. The man who might soon be his boss. That night, Devin maintained his facade of normalcy with Talia, asking about her day, sharing dinner, watching television together. Every smile, every casual touch now felt like a betrayal. When she mentioned a business trip planned for the following weekend, Devin simply nodded, noting the details in his mental ledger. "I've been thinking about the Christmas party," Talia said casually. "Should I wear the red dress or the black one?" "The red," Devin replied, picturing how it would look under the company's spotlight when he exposed her. "Definitely the red." The next morning, Devin dressed with unusual care, selecting his best suit, charcoal gray, tailored perfectly to his athletic frame. If he was going to meet the man who destroyed his marriage, he would do so looking his best. The conference room buzzed with anticipation when Bryce Holloway entered, flanked by Harrison Montgomery and several Pinnacle executives. Holloway was imposing, 6'2" with a commanding presence, expensive suit, and the confidence of a man accustomed to getting whatever and whoever he wanted. "Ladies and gentlemen," Harrison began, "it's my pleasure to introduce Bryce Holloway, CEO of Pinnacle Industries. As you know, our companies are exploring a strategic partnership that would benefit us all." Holloway smiled, his teeth perfectly white. "Thank you, Harrison. I'm excited about the potential synergies between our organizations. Montgomery Construction's reputation for quality and integrity aligns perfectly with Pinnacle's vision." Integrity. The word hung in the air like poison. Devin studied Holloway, noting every detail. The way he dominated the room, the subtle cologne that matched the faint scent he detected on Talia, the wedding band gleaming on his left hand. When the meeting broke for informal introductions, Devin waited his turn. Holloway moved through the room with the easy charm of a practiced socialite. Finally, he reached Devin. "And you are?" Holloway extended his hand. "Devin Mercer, senior structural engineer." Devin gripped Holloway's hand firmly, the hand that had touched his wife. "Mercer?" Holloway's eyes narrowed slightly. "Any relation to Talia Mercer at our marketing division?" Devin's smile didn't reach his eyes. "My wife." A flicker of something, recognition, perhaps unease, crossed Holloway's face before his professional mask returned. "Small world. She's one of our rising stars. You must be proud." "Immensely," Devin replied, maintaining eye contact. "She's been working very closely with your team lately. Long hours. Weekends." Holloway nodded, perhaps a bit too quickly. "That's the kind of dedication we value at Pinnacle." "I'm sure," Devin said, his voice neutral. "I look forward to seeing how our companies come together." As Holloway moved on to the next employee, Devin felt a cold clarity settle over him. In that moment, the architect in him began designing something new. Not a building, but a plan for retribution so meticulous that its foundation would be unshakable. That evening, Devin created a secure digital vault where he began storing all evidence of the affair. He purchased a separate phone with a camera, installed tracking software on Talia's devices using the passwords she'd always shared with him, and set up recording equipment in his home office. He contacted Marlene again, authorizing more extensive surveillance. "I need everything," he instructed. "Hotel receipts, text messages, emails. I want to know where they meet, what they discuss, and who else knows about their relationship." "This level of surveillance isn't cheap," Marlene warned. "And some of what you're asking skirts the edge of legality." "I understand," Devin replied. "But I need to know if this affair is just about sex, or if there's something else. The timing with this corporate merger seems too convenient." Over the next few weeks, Devin became a shadow investigator of his own life. He maintained his routine, performed excellently at work, and played the role of unsuspecting husband. But beneath this facade, he was building a case that would be irrefutable. Marlene's findings revealed a pattern. Talia and Holloway had been meeting for at least 6 months, coinciding precisely with her promotion. Their affair had begun shortly after Holloway took over as CEO. They communicated through a messaging app that automatically deleted conversations and met primarily at the boutique hotel near Pinnacle's headquarters, always on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Holloway had registered under various aliases, always paying in cash, but the hotel's security cameras didn't lie. More disturbing were the fragments of business discussions Marlene managed to capture. Mentions of the Montgomery acquisition, restructuring plans, and departments that would be streamlined. Devin's name had come up once, with Holloway assuring Talia that her husband would be taken care of after the merger. The implications were clear. Holloway was using Talia for insider information about Montgomery Construction, and she was betraying not just her husband, but potentially her legal obligations as well. Corporate espionage, Devin murmured, reviewing the latest report. They're not just sleeping together, they're plotting. He expanded his investigation, carefully documenting which projects Talia had asked about, what information she'd accessed on his laptop when she thought he wasn't looking, and which colleagues she'd pumped for information under the guise of casual conversation. By November, Devin had amassed a damning collection of evidence: photographs, audio recordings, hotel receipts, geotag location data, and business discussions that clearly violated confidentiality agreements. He organized everything meticulously, creating backups and secure storage solutions. The annual Montgomery Construction Christmas party was scheduled for December 18th. Devin marked the date on his calendar, a cold smile playing at his lips. The invitation specified that Pinnacle executives would be attending as honored guests in anticipation of the merger announcement. Perfect, Devin whispered, circling the date. Absolutely perfect. What Talia and Holloway didn't realize was that while they thought they were the architects of corporate takeover, Devin had been designing something far more elaborate, a public revelation that would bring their world crashing down. The structural engineer understood better than most that when a foundation was compromised, the entire structure was at risk, and he intended to trigger that collapse. Chapter 4: Counterintelligence. Devin knew the moment Talia became suspicious. It happened on a Wednesday evening in early November, exactly 4 weeks after he'd begun collecting evidence. He was reviewing blueprints in his home office when Talia appeared in the doorway, leaning against the frame with studied casualness. "You've been working late a lot," she observed, swirling a glass of Pinot Noir. The red liquid caught the light, reminding Devin of blood. "The Riverside project is behind schedule," he replied without looking up. Harrison's concerned about the timeline. Talia moved into the room, setting her wine glass on his desk dangerously close to his laptop. "You never used to bring work home before. Things change." Devin finally met her gaze, searching for signs of guilt or fear. He found neither, just calculating assessment. She trailed her fingers along his shoulder. "You seem different lately. Distant." "Do I?" He closed the blueprint folder, casually slipping it over his real work, printouts of her text message logs. "Maybe I'm just tired. Or maybe I'm picking up on something." Her fingers stilled. "What does that mean?" "Nothing," Devin shrugged. "Just thinking out loud." The next morning, Devin discovered Talia had searched his browser history and checked his recent calls. He smiled grimly. He'd anticipated this and had been using a separate phone and a secure browser that left no traces. He called Marlene immediately. "She's getting suspicious. We need to be more careful." "Your wife accessed your private investigator account yesterday," Marlene informed him. She tried to log in, but couldn't get past the two-factor authentication. Devin's blood ran cold. "How do you know this?" "Because I set up alerts for any login attempts." "Don't worry, she didn't see anything. But she knows something's up." That evening, Talia announced she'd invited Bryce Holloway and his wife Vivian to dinner the following week. "I thought it would be good to get to know them socially," she explained with practiced innocence. "Since our companies will be working so closely together." Devin recognized the trap. Bring Holloway into their home, observe how Devin interacted with him, gauge whether he knew about the affair. It was clever. "Great idea," he agreed smoothly. "I've been wanting to discuss some of the structural concerns about the merger directly with him anyway." The dinner party became a chess match. Vivian Holloway arrived first, a statuesque blonde with shrewd eyes that missed nothing. Bryce arrived 30 minutes later, claiming a client emergency. Devin watched the subtle interplay between his wife and Holloway, the careful maintenance of appropriate distance, the avoidance of lingering eye contact, the practiced casualness. Vivian, however, was a revelation. During a moment alone in the kitchen, she cornered Devin with unexpected frankness. "Your wife is sleeping with my husband," she stated without preamble, her voice low but steady. Devin nearly dropped the wine bottle he was opening. What makes you say that? Vivian's laugh was brittle. Please, this isn't my first rodeo with Bryce. I know the signs. She sipped her wine. What I haven't figured out is whether you know. Devin studied her carefully. And if I did, then we might have something to talk about. She slipped a business card into his pocket. Call me when you're ready to stop pretending. The dinner concluded with artificial pleasantries, but the undercurrents had shifted. As Devin closed the door behind the Holloways, Talia busied herself clearing dishes, humming softly. Vivian's interesting, Devin commented, gathering wine glasses. She's a cold bitch, Talia replied with unexpected venom. I don't know how Bryce stands her. Seems like you've given it some thought. Talia's hand stilled. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, Devin said mildly. Just an observation. 2 days later, Devin met Vivian at a cafe in a neighborhood where neither Talia nor Holloway would likely spot them. She arrived precisely on time, dressed impeccably in a tailored pantsuit. I've known about Bryce's affairs for years, she explained after ordering coffee. It's part of our arrangement. I maintain social appearances. He maintains financial generosity. Occasionally, I make his life difficult when he gets too comfortable. And Talia? Affair number 4 since he took over Pinnacle, Vivian said dispassionately. Though this one's different. He's actually taking her to board meetings, introducing her to key players. That's new. Usually, he keeps his toys separate from business. Devin absorbed this, recalibrating his understanding. Why tell me? Because I don't appreciate your wife's ambition, Vivian replied coolly. The others knew their place. Talia thinks she's special. She's angling to become more than a mistress. She wants to be a power player. And that, she leaned forward, threatens my position. You want me to end their affair. I want them both to suffer appropriate consequences, Vivian corrected. And I'm willing to help make that happen. Devin considered her offer. What do you have in mind? Vivian's smile was razor sharp. Information. Access. Alibis if you need them. I know every skeleton in Bryce's closet, including some that would interest the SEC. Why not use it yourself? Our prenup has a mutual destruction clause. If I directly harm his reputation, I lose everything. But if someone else were to, say, expose certain facts at a public event, she shrugged elegantly. I'm just an innocent bystander. Devin nodded slowly. I'm planning something for the Christmas party. Excellent venue. I can ensure certain board members attend. As Devin left the cafe, he felt the plans shifting, expanding to accommodate this unexpected ally. Vivian Holloway might be cold and calculating, but her resources could prove invaluable. Meanwhile, Talia intensified her counterintelligence. She began checking his phone when she thought he was sleeping, installed a tracking app on his primary device, which he allowed to show only his legitimate movements, and suggested they see a marriage counselor, a transparent attempt to gauge his emotional state. Devin played along, presenting as a workaholic husband, slightly neglecting his marriage, but otherwise oblivious. During one counseling session, he even broke down, confessing his fears that work was coming between them, a performance that earned him Talia's comforting embrace and whispered reassurances. Behind the scenes, his evidence collection accelerated. Vivian provided access to Holloway's private calendar and copies of emails between Holloway and Talia that discussed not just their affair, but their plans for the restructuring of Montgomery Construction post-merger. Plans that included terminating several longtime employees, including Neil Wyatt, Devin's supervisor and friend. They're planning to gut the company, Devin realized, reviewing the documents. This isn't a merger. It's a hostile takeover disguised as a partnership. The stakes had risen. This wasn't just about personal betrayal anymore. It was about the livelihoods of colleagues who had become like family. The Christmas party revelation would need to expose both the affair and the corporate deception simultaneously. Devin expanded his team, cautiously bringing Neil into his confidence. I need to know if this is true, he said, showing Neil redacted versions of the restructuring plans that concealed their source. Neil's face paled as he read. Where did you get this? Does it matter if it's accurate? Neil studied the documents again. If this is real, they're planning to strip our company for parts. The merger announcement is just theater. I need your help, Devin said quietly. but it will require absolute discretion. Neil's eyes hardened. Tell me what you need. With Neil's assistance, Devin gained access to internal communications about the merger and confirmation that Harrison Montgomery had not been fully informed about Pinnacle's post-merger plans. The elderly founder believed the partnership would preserve his company's legacy, not dismantle it. By early December, Devin had constructed a comprehensive narrative supported by incontrovertible evidence. Holloway was sleeping with Talia, using her for inside information about Montgomery construction, planning mass layoffs immediately after the merger, and potentially violating securities laws through undisclosed conflicts of interest. The Christmas party was 2 weeks away. Devin confirmed with Neil that a projector and screen would be set up for Harrison's traditional year-end presentation. I'll need 10 minutes of the microphone, Devin explained. Right after Harrison's speech, before Holloway takes the stage to discuss the merger. Consider it done, Neil promised. I'll make the change to the program. As the party approached, Talia grew increasingly affectionate and attentive, a transparent attempt to allay any lingering suspicions. She suggested they take a vacation after the holidays to reconnect. That sounds perfect, Devin agreed, picturing the very different scenario that would unfold by then. I think we both need a fresh start. The night before the Christmas party, Devin finalized his presentation, an organized sequence of images, texts, emails, and financial projections that would leave no room for denial or explanation. He stored copies in multiple secure locations and prepared a package for Harrison Montgomery with additional documentation. As Talia slept beside him, Devin stared at the ceiling, mentally reviewing every detail of his plan. Tomorrow night, the facade would crumble. The architect of vengeance would unveil his design, and the foundation of lies would collapse under the weight of truth. Chapter 5: Collateral Damage. The first complication arose 3 days before the Christmas party when Devin received an unexpected visitor at his office. Lydia Foster, Montgomery Construction's general counsel, closed his door with a soft click that somehow sounded ominous. "We need to talk, Devin," she said, settling into the chair across from his desk without waiting for an invitation. At 52, Lydia was a formidable presence. Razor-sharp mind housed in a compact frame, her silver-streaked hair cut in a severe bob. "What can I help you with, Lydia?" Devin kept his voice casual, though his pulse quickened. She placed a folder on his desk. "You've been accessing company servers outside your clearance level. Care to explain?" Devin maintained a neutral expression. "I've been researching the structural implications of the merger. Some of that required looking at company-wide projections. With Neil Wyatt's login credentials?" A cold sensation settled in Devin's stomach. He hadn't been careful enough. "Neil and I have been collaborating." "On what exactly?" "Due diligence," Devin replied carefully. Something felt off about Pinnacle's proposals for our Riverside development project. The specifications they're suggesting would compromise structural integrity. Lydia's eyes narrowed. "And that required accessing confidential merger documents?" "It led me there, yes." Devin leaned forward. "Lydia, how long have we known each other?" 8 years, she replied without hesitation. "Have I ever given you reason to doubt my commitment to this company?" Lydia sighed, her professional veneer softening slightly. "No, which is why I'm here personally instead of with security. But whatever you're doing, Devin, it needs to stop. Unauthorized access to confidential documents could not only get you fired, but potentially lead to criminal charges. What if those documents revealed something that could harm Montgomery Construction?" Devin countered. "Wouldn't you want to know?" A flicker of interest crossed Lydia's face. "What kind of something?" Devin made a split-second decision. The merger isn't what Harrison thinks it is. Pinnacle plans to dismantle our company post-acquisition. They're already drafting termination notices. Lydia's expression remained professionally neutral, but Devin caught the slight tightening around her eyes. "That's a serious allegation. Do you have proof?" "Substantial proof, but I can't share my sources." "This wouldn't have anything to do with your wife's position at Pinnacle, would it?" The question caught Devin off guard. "What do you mean?" "Please," Lydia snorted. "This company runs on information. I know Talia works directly with Bryce Holloway. If she's feeding you insider information, that creates legal complications for everyone involved. Devin chose his next words carefully. My investigation has nothing to do with Talia sharing information with me. Quite the opposite, in fact. Understanding dawned in Lydia's eyes. I see. She tapped her fingers on the folder. The Christmas party is in 3 days. Harrison is planning to announce the merger formally. I know. If you have evidence that this merger would damage the company, I have a fiduciary duty to review it before that announcement. Devin considered his options. Lydia was right. If he truly cared about protecting Montgomery Construction, he needed to give her a chance to act through proper channels. But revealing everything now might derail his public exposure of Talia and Holloway. I'll have a package delivered to your office by the end of day, he decided. But Lydia, this goes beyond business concerns. There are personal factors involved that I intend to address at the party. Lydia studied him for a long moment. Be careful, Devin. Whatever you're planning, remember that emotional decisions rarely yield optimal outcomes. After she left, Devin called Neil immediately. We've been compromised. Lydia knows we've been accessing restricted servers. Shit, Neil cursed. How bad? Manageable for now. I'm giving her some of the merger documents, but nothing about the affair or my plans for the party. Can we trust her? I think so, Devin said after a moment's reflection. She's been with Harrison since the beginning. Her loyalty is to the company, not Holloway. That evening, Devin prepared a carefully curated selection of documents for Lydia, enough to raise serious concerns about the merger, but withholding the evidence about Talia and Holloway's relationship. He arranged for a courier to deliver the package directly to Lydia's home. The second complication arrived the next morning in the form of a text from Vivian Holloway. Bryce knows something's up. He's hired security for the party. Be careful. Devin frowned at his phone. How had Holloway gotten suspicious? Had Talia warned him? Or had Lydia said something? He texted back, how many? Armed. The response came quickly. 2 men. Private firm. Probably not armed, but ex-military. They'll stop anything physical. Not planning anything physical, Devin assured her. His revenge didn't require violence. Truth would be devastating enough. The third complication was the most unexpected. That afternoon, Harrison Montgomery himself requested Devin's presence in his office, a rare summons that sent a ripple of speculation through the company. Harrison's corner office offered a panoramic view of the city skyline he'd helped shape over 5 decades in construction. At 78, he remained sharp-minded and commanding, though his once powerful frame had grown frail. Sit down, son. Harrison gestured to a leather chair. Lydia brought me some concerning documents this morning. She says they came from you. Devin nodded. Yes, sir. These projections about post-merger layoffs, you're certain they're accurate? They came directly from Pinnacle's internal planning documents. Harrison's bushy eyebrows drew together. And how did you obtain them? I can't reveal my source, Mr. Montgomery, but I can assure you they're authentic. The old man sighed heavily. I've known Bryce Holloway for 20 years. His father and I were friends. I find it hard to believe he would deceive me this way. People change, sir, especially when money and power are involved. Harrison studied Devin carefully. Lydia seems to think there's more to this situation than you're sharing. Something personal. Devin maintained a neutral expression. My only concern is protecting this company and its employees. Harrison didn't sound convinced. The Christmas party is tomorrow night. I'm scheduled to announce the merger. If what you've shown me is true, I'll need to reconsider. That would be wise, sir. However, Harrison continued, I won't make that decision based solely on these documents. I've called an emergency board meeting for tomorrow morning. Holloway will be there. I expect you to present your concerns directly. Devin felt a chill run through him. This wasn't part of his plan. Facing Holloway in a board meeting meant revealing at least some of his evidence before the party. It would give Holloway time to prepare counterarguments, perhaps even cancel his attendance at the event. With all due respect, Mr. Montgomery, I believe the full scope of this situation will be clearer at the Christmas party. I've prepared a comprehensive presentation that addresses both the business concerns and other relevant factors. Harrison's eyes narrowed. What other factors? Devin took a calculated risk. Sir, Are you aware that Bryce Holloway has been having an affair with my wife for the past 6 months? An affair that began precisely when merger discussions started? The color drained from Harrison's face. Good God, man. Are you certain? Beyond any doubt. I have photographic evidence, hotel receipts, text messages. Their relationship isn't just personal. It's directly connected to the merger. He's been using her to gather inside information about Montgomery Construction. Harrison sat back, visibly shaken. And you were planning to reveal this at our company Christmas party? It's the only venue where all stakeholders will be present. Board members, employees, Pinnacle executives. The truth needs to be heard by everyone simultaneously. That's not how we handle things at Montgomery Construction, Harrison said firmly. We don't air private matters in public, no matter how justified the grievance. With respect, sir, this isn't just a private matter. It's corporate espionage wrapped in a personal betrayal. Your employees deserve to know who they're about to work for. Harrison was silent for a long moment. The board meeting will proceed as scheduled. You'll present the business concerns only, nothing about personal relationships. After that, I'll make my decision about the merger announcement. And if you decide to cancel the announcement, then there will be no need for your presentation at the party. Devin felt his carefully constructed plan crumbling. Mr. Montgomery, that's my final word on the matter, Devin. I understand you're hurt and angry, but I built this company on integrity, not public spectacle. After leaving Harrison's office, Devin sat in his car in the parking garage, hands gripping the steering wheel as he processed this setback. If Harrison canceled the merger announcement, the Christmas party would become a standard corporate celebration. His moment of public revelation would be lost. He called Vivian. We have a problem. Harrison's called a board meeting tomorrow morning. He might cancel the merger announcement. That complicates things, she agreed. But it doesn't change the fact that Bryce and your wife deserve to be exposed. If the party doesn't include the merger announcement, half the impact will be lost. The board members might not even attend. Then we need to ensure the merger announcement proceeds as planned, Vivian said simply. How? If I show the business documents to the board, they'll vote to cancel. Then don't show them everything. Create doubt, but not certainty. Make them delay the final decision until after the holidays, but allow the preliminary announcement to proceed. Devin considered this approach. That could work, but it means Holloway will still be at the party, still planning to take the stage. Exactly where you want him, Vivian reminded him. On display, confident, right before his fall. That night, Devin modified his board presentation, carefully calibrating it to raise concerns without providing definitive proof of Pinnacle's post-merger plans. He also prepared a separate package for Harrison, the full evidence of both the business deception and the affair to be delivered after the Christmas party. When Talia returned home, she was unusually subdued. Everything okay? Devin asked, maintaining his facade of ignorance. Just work stress, she replied, avoiding his eyes. The merger announcement has everyone on edge. I can imagine. Big changes ahead for all of us. She studied him carefully. Devin, if things change after the merger, you know we'll be okay, right? Even if your position at Montgomery is affected. The audacity of her performance. Preparing him for his own termination while sleeping with the man who planned to fire him, almost made Devin laugh. Instead, he nodded solemnly. Of course, we're a team. Whatever happens, we face it together. Talia's smile didn't reach her eyes. Together. Always. As she disappeared upstairs, Devin's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Package delivered to target's vehicle. Tracking active. It was from Marlene's associate. Confirmation that they'd placed a GPS tracker on Holloway's car. Whatever happened at tomorrow's board meeting, Devin would know exactly where Holloway went afterward. The board meeting the next morning was tense, but ultimately played out as Devin had hoped. He presented enough evidence to create serious concerns about Pinnacle's intentions, but withheld the most damning documents. The board decided to proceed with the preliminary merger announcement at the Christmas party, but delayed the binding vote until January, giving them time for additional due diligence. Holloway left the meeting visibly agitated, immediately making a phone call as he strode to his car. The GPS tracker showed him driving not to Pinnacle's offices, but to a residential address in an upscale neighborhood, Devin and Talia's home. Devin's hands clenched into fists as he realized Holloway was meeting with Talia while Devin was still at the office. He called Marlene. "I need audio from my house. Now." "The equipment's in place," she confirmed. "Accessing now." Minutes later, Marlene sent a secure audio file. Devin listened with cold fury as Holloway and Talia discussed the board meeting. "Someone's feeding them information." Holloway's voice was tight with anger. "The board is getting cold feet about the merger." "It's not from me," Talia insisted. "Devin doesn't suspect anything. He's been completely normal, distracted with work, if anything." "Are you certain?" "Because someone accessed those planning documents, and the leak had to come from somewhere." "Maybe it's someone at Pinnacle," Talia suggested. "Not everyone there is loyal to you." "Check his devices again," Holloway ordered. "Look for anything unusual. And make sure he goes to that party tonight. We need everyone thinking this merger is proceeding smoothly." "I will," Talia promised. "Don't worry about Devin. I can handle him." After they finished discussing business, the audio captured sounds that made Devin's stomach turn, his wife and Holloway, intimate in his own home. He disconnected the feed, a new layer of rage fueling his determination. The Christmas party would proceed as planned. The merger would be announced. And then Devin would unleash truth like a wrecking ball against a condemned structure. Chapter 6. The Final Preparations. The Montgomery Construction Christmas Party was held annually at the Grand Meridian Hotel, a glittering tower of glass and steel that Devin's team had helped renovate 5 years earlier. As he adjusted his tie in the hotel lobby's restroom mirror, Devin reflected on the symbolism. His revenge would unfold in a building he had helped strengthen from within, much as his meticulous planning had fortified him for this moment. Talia stood beside him, resplendent in the red dress he'd suggested. She applied a final touch of lipstick, caught his gaze in the mirror, and smiled. "Ready to celebrate?" Devin summoned a convincing smile. "Absolutely. Big night for everyone." They entered the ballroom together, Talia's hand resting lightly on his arm. The space had been transformed into a winter wonderland, with crystalline decorations catching the light from chandeliers overhead. A stage had been set up at the far end, complete with the podium and projection screen that would soon serve Devin's purpose. Neil intercepted them near the entrance, champagne flutes in hand. "Merry Christmas, you two." He handed them each a glass, giving Devin a subtle nod that confirmed everything was in place. "Talia, you remember my supervisor, Neil Wyatt," Devin said. "Of course," Talia smiled warmly. "Will your wife be joining us tonight?" "She's just giving our coats to the attendant," Neil replied. "Ah, there she is." As Neil's wife approached, Devin scanned the room. Near the bar, he spotted Lydia Foster in conversation with several board members. By the windows, Harrison Montgomery was greeting guests, his frail frame supported by a carved walking stick. And across the room, making a characteristically dramatic entrance, were Bryce and Vivian Holloway. Bryce wore a tailored tuxedo that emphasized his commanding physique, while Vivian glittered in a silver gown that caught the light with every movement. They projected the image of the perfect power couple, though Devin now knew it was as carefully constructed as the architectural facades he designed. Talia stiffened almost imperceptibly beside him, her fingers tightening on his arm. "The Holloways are here," she said, her voice carefully neutral. "I see them," Devin replied. "Should we go say hello?" It would be the polite thing to do. Before Talia could respond, Neil interjected smoothly. "Actually, Devin, Harrison was asking for you earlier. Something about the presentation schedule." "I should check in with him," Devin agreed. "Talia, why don't you mingle? I'll find you after I speak with Harrison." Talia hesitated, clearly torn between staying with Devin and creating an opportunity to warn Holloway. "Don't be too long," she said finally, kissing his cheek before drifting toward a group of Pinnacle executives. Neil waited until she was out of earshot. "Everything's set. The USB drive is loaded in the presentation computer, and I've confirmed the projector is working perfectly. You'll be introduced right after Harrison's opening remarks." "What about Holloway's security?" "2 men, as Vivian warned. One by the stage, one circulating." but they're here to prevent physical confrontation, not a presentation. Devin nodded, and Harrison, still planning to announce the merger as preliminary, pending final approval. But he's definitely cooling on the idea after this morning's meeting. Perfect. Devin took a steadying breath. It's almost time. As Neil moved away to coordinate with the audiovisual team, Devin watched Talia approach Holloway. They maintained a professional distance, but their body language betrayed an intimate familiarity. The subtle leaning in, the lingering eye contact, the unnecessary touch to emphasize a point. Vivian Holloway noticed Devin watching and raised her champagne glass in a mock toast. He responded in kind, their silent communication confirming their unusual alliance. For the next hour, Devin moved through the party with practiced sociability, discussing projects with colleagues, accepting congratulations on the Riverside development's progress, and playing the role of dedicated employee and unsuspecting husband. All the while, he monitored Talia and Holloway, noting how they carefully avoided prolonged interaction while simultaneously tracking each other's movements across the room. At precisely 8:30 p.m., Harrison Montgomery tapped his glass for attention and took the stage. The room quieted as the elderly founder adjusted the microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight to celebrate another successful year at Montgomery Construction. For 52 years, we've built not just structures, but a legacy of integrity, quality, and community. Applause rippled through the crowd. Harrison continued, his voice growing stronger as he warmed to his subject. Tonight, I'm pleased to share some exciting news about our future. As many of you have heard, we've been in discussions with Pinnacle Industries about a strategic partnership. While the final details are still being finalized, I'm happy to announce that we've reached a preliminary agreement that will strengthen both our companies. He gestured toward Holloway. Bryce Holloway, CEO of Pinnacle Industries, has been a driving force behind this vision, and I'd like to invite him to say a few words about our shared future. But first, one of our own would like to offer some insights into what this partnership means for Montgomery Construction. Devin Mercer, our senior structural engineer, has been instrumental in assessing how our companies will integrate. Devin, please join me. Devin felt a momentary surge of adrenaline as he made his way to the stage. From the corner of his eye, he saw Talia's expression shift from polite attention to dawning alarm. Holloway, standing near the front, frowned slightly, clearly not expecting this change to the program. Harrison shook Devin's hand and surrendered the podium. As Devin turned to face the assembled guests, he caught Talia's gaze. For a brief moment, their eyes locked, and he saw the first flicker of fear in hers. "Thank you, Mr. Montgomery," Devin began, his voice steady. As Harrison mentioned, I've been closely involved in analyzing the structural integrity of this proposed merger. He reached for the remote control that would advance his presentation. In engineering, we have a concept called fundamental stability. It refers to a structure's ability to withstand stress without deformation or collapse. The same principle applies to partnerships, both professional and personal. The first slide appeared on the screen behind him, a corporate organizational chart showing the planned integration of Montgomery and Pinnacle. Nothing alarming yet, just standard business graphics. On the surface, everything can appear sound, Devin continued. But as engineers, we're trained to look deeper, to examine the hidden connections and stress points that might not be immediately visible. He clicked to the next slide, a split screen showing Holloway entering the boutique hotel on one side and Talia following 20 minutes later on the other. The timestamp was clearly visible. A murmur ran through the crowd. Sometimes, what we discover is that the foundation we thought was solid has been compromised. Holloway stepped forward, his face darkening. One of his security men moved toward the stage, but Vivian placed a restraining hand on her husband's arm, keeping him in place. Devin advanced to the next slide, a series of text messages between Talia and Holloway, discussing not just their intimate relationship, but specific Montgomery construction projects and confidential information that Talia had accessed through Devin's accounts. We find that what was presented as a merger of equals is actually something quite different. A relationship built on exploitation, deception, and betrayal. The next series of slides showed Holloway's post-merger plans in detail. The departments to be eliminated, the employees to be terminated, the assets to be liquidated. Gasps and angry murmurs spread through the audience as Montgomery employees recognized their names on termination lists. And while we were working to build something lasting, Devin said, his voice now carrying an edge of controlled anger, others were working to undermine it from within. The final slide appeared, a medical report with both Devin's and Talia's names, showing the diagnosis of the rare strain of chlamydia, alongside a hotel receipt from the date when the infection was likely transmitted. Sometimes the damage isn't just professional. Sometimes it's deeply personal. Devin set down the remote and looked directly at Talia, who stood frozen in horror, her face ashen. The STD your lover gave you, which you then gave to me, is indeed rare, but not as rare as the opportunity I'm giving everyone here tonight, to see the truth before it's too late. Chaos erupted in the ballroom. Holloway lunged toward the stage, only to be blocked by Neil and several other Montgomery employees. Talia remained motionless, the red of her dress now a cruel echo of her public humiliation. Board members clustered around Harrison, who looked stricken by the full revelation of Holloway's deception. Devin raised his voice over the commotion. "A toast," he called out, raising his champagne glass. "To secret affairs, both corporate and personal, and to the price of betrayal." He locked eyes with Holloway, who had stopped struggling against those restraining him. "You should have been more careful about who you infected, Mr. Holloway. Engineers are very good at tracing things back to their source." As security moved to restore order, Devin stepped away from the podium, his mission accomplished. The foundation had been exposed as compromised, and the entire structure was now collapsing before his eyes. Chapter 7, Fallout. The Grand Meridian Hotel service elevator descended in silence, carrying Devin away from the pandemonium he'd unleashed in the ballroom. He'd slipped out through the kitchen, avoiding both the security guards searching for him and the clamoring crowd of shocked partygoers. Neil had created a diversion by starting a heated argument with one of Holloway's security men, allowing Devin to escape unnoticed. In the hotel's back alley, a nondescript sedan waited with its engine running. Marlene Vasquez sat behind the wheel, her face expressionless as Devin slid into the passenger seat. "It went as planned?" she asked, pulling away from the curb. "Better," Devin replied, loosening his tie. Holloway tried to stop the presentation, but couldn't reach the stage in time. The board members saw everything. "And your wife?" Devin stared out the window at the city lights blurring past. She didn't run, didn't cry, just stood there, watching it all crumble around her. Marlene nodded approvingly. "You've got the footage from the ballroom cameras? Neil will download it tonight and send it to both of us. Insurance, in case they try to spin this." They drove in silence for several minutes before Marlene spoke again. "What now? They'll come after you, both of them." "Let them," Devin said with cold certainty. "I prepared for that, too." Marlene dropped him at a boutique hotel across town, one he'd booked under a false name using cash. "Lie low," she advised. "The first 24 hours will be the most volatile. I'll be in touch." Inside his hotel room, Devin plugged in the burner phone he'd been carrying and waited. The texts and calls began flooding in almost immediately. Neil confirming he had the footage, Lydia demanding to know where he was, Harrison's assistant conveying an urgent request to contact the founder. Nothing from Talia. At 11:42 p.m., a single text arrived from Vivian Holloway. "Magnificent. Bryce is destroying a hotel room. Your wife left with him. Harrison's canceled the merger. Call me tomorrow." Devin ordered a scotch from room service and turned on the television, flipping channels until he found a local news station. It didn't take long for the story to break. "Breaking news tonight," the anchor announced with barely disguised excitement. Chaos erupted at the Montgomery construction holiday party when a senior employee exposed an alleged affair between his wife and Bryce Holloway, CEO of Pinnacle Industries. Sources claim the presentation also revealed confidential documents showing Pinnacle planned massive layoffs following a merger announcement that was scheduled for tonight. We go to our reporter on the scene. Devin switched off the TV. The media would feast on this story for days. The sex scandal, the corporate intrigue, the public humiliation. By morning, it would be trending on social media, and business websites would be dissecting the implications for both companies. He checked his secure email account and found an automated alert. A large withdrawal had been made from his and Talia's joint account. She was preparing to run, or at least securing funds. Devin smiled faintly. He'd anticipated this and had already transferred the bulk of their assets to accounts she couldn't access. Sleep came in fitful bursts, his mind continuously replaying the moments of revelation, the expressions of shock and betrayal that had rippled through the crowd. Not all the reactions had been supportive. He'd seen judgment in some eyes, disapproval of his public approach. But those opinions mattered little compared to the satisfaction of watching Holloway's carefully constructed facade crumble. Dawn brought a flurry of new developments. Neil called from a burner phone of his own. "It's nuclear fallout," he reported. "Harrison's called an emergency board meeting." Pinnacle stock dropped in pre-market trading after news leaked about their post-merger plans. And Holloway's wife has filed for divorce. "That was fast," Devin remarked, though not entirely surprised. Vivian had clearly been prepared to move quickly. "There's more," Neil continued. "Talia tried to access your house last night, but the locks have been changed." Another of Devin's advanced preparations. "Where is she now?" "Unknown. But Holloway checked into the Four Seasons under an alias. Presumably, she's with him." "And my position at Montgomery?" Neil hesitated. "Technically, you're suspended pending review. But unofficially, Lydia's told the HR department not to process any termination papers. She believes you acted to protect the company, even if your methods were unorthodox." After hanging up, Devin showered and dressed in fresh clothes he'd stashed at the hotel days earlier. His phone rang again, Harrison Montgomery's private number. Devin answered cautiously. "Mr. Montgomery, that was quite a performance last night," the elderly founder said, his voice betraying fatigue. "You disobeyed my direct instruction to keep personal matters separate from business concerns." "With respect, sir, they weren't separate. The personal betrayal enabled the business deception." Harrison sighed heavily. "I've been reviewing the documents you presented. The board has unanimously voted to terminate all merger discussions with Pinnacle Industries. Several members are advocating legal action for corporate espionage. I have additional evidence if that route is pursued," Devin offered. "I don't doubt it." Harrison paused. "You put me in a difficult position, Devin. What you did was unprofessional, potentially actionable, and arguably unethical in its public nature." Devin remained silent, waiting. "It was also undeniably effective and ultimately protective of this company's interests," Harrison continued. "The board is divided on how to handle your situation. Some want you terminated for the public spectacle. Others view you as having saved us from a disastrous merger. In your opinion, sir?" "I built this company on integrity," Harrison said slowly. "What Holloway and your wife did violated that principle at the most fundamental level. While I cannot officially condone your methods, I understand the impulse behind them. It wasn't exactly a ringing endorsement, but it wasn't termination either. What happens now?" "Take 2 weeks paid leave," Harrison instructed. "Let the media circus die down. When you return, you'll be reassigned to the East Coast Division. A lateral move, not a demotion. A fresh start might be best for everyone involved." "Thank you, sir." "Don't thank me yet," Harrison warned. "Holloway is threatening litigation against both you and Montgomery Construction. His lawyers have been calling all morning." "Let them," Devin said confidently. "I've documented everything. Any lawsuit would only bring more evidence to light, evidence that would be admissible in court and reportable by media. Holloway won't risk it." After disconnecting, Devin checked out of the hotel and took a taxi to a coffee shop in a quiet neighborhood across town. From a corner table, he made a series of calls, activating the next phase of his plan. First was his attorney, who confirmed that divorce papers had been prepared and could be filed immediately. Next was a cybersecurity expert who had helped secure Devin's electronic evidence, ensuring it remained accessible even if Holloway's team attempted to scrub servers or claim fabrication. The third call was to a realtor who had already been quietly marketing Devin's house. "We've had 3 offers," she informed him. The highest is 18,000 over asking. Accept it, Devin instructed. Push for the fastest possible closing. His final call was to Vivian Holloway. She answered on the first ring. You've made my morning quite interesting, she said, a smile evident in her voice. The divorce attorney couldn't believe how much evidence I already had compiled. Glad it's useful, Devin replied. Have you heard from them? Bryce called to threaten me about an hour ago, Vivian said dismissively. Something about violating our prenup by cooperating with you. I reminded him that I merely attended a company party where an employee made a presentation. I had no prior knowledge of the content. Will that hold up? It doesn't need to. The prenup has a morality clause that he violated with his multiple affairs. My attorneys have already frozen our joint assets. Bryce is about to discover just how expensive betrayal can be. After finishing his coffee, Devin took a circuitous route to a small apartment he'd leased under an LLC the previous month, another preparation for the aftermath. He had just settled in when his burner phone rang with an unfamiliar number. Hello. You've ruined everything. Talia's voice was raw with fury. Are you happy now? Devin sat down slowly. Where are you? Like you care. You humiliated me in front of everyone. You destroyed my career, my reputation. You destroyed our marriage, Devin interrupted calmly. You destroyed my trust. You literally infected me with an STD from your lover. The consequences you're experiencing are directly proportional to your actions. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. Talia's voice cracked. Bryce promised that you'd be taken care of, that I'd be fired after the merger and you'd move up at Pinnacle, that your betrayal would be rewarded while I lost everything. Her silence confirmed his assumptions. Did you ever love me at all? Devin asked, surprising himself with the question. Once, Talia admitted quietly, before ambition became more important than loyalty. Then we have nothing left to discuss. Divorce papers will be filed today. Don't bother coming back to the house. The locks are changed, and it's being sold. Your personal items have been placed in storage. You can't just. I already have. Devin cut her off. One more thing. Any attempt by you or Holloway to retaliate will result in additional evidence being released. Evidence I've stored securely with instructions for distribution if anything happens to me. You think of everything, don't you? Talia's voice had turned bitter. That's why you married me, Devin replied before hanging up. The next 72 hours unfolded like a carefully orchestrated demolition. Montgomery Construction issued a press release announcing the termination of merger talks with Pinnacle Industries, citing irreconcilable differences in corporate values. Pinnacle stock continued its downward trajectory as investors reacted to the failed merger and the scandal surrounding their CEO. Business publications ran in-depth analyses of the Christmas party incident, with headlines like Love, Lies, and Corporate Espionage, and how an STD exposed a corrupt merger. Social media buzzed with memes and hot takes, most supportive of Devin's dramatic revenge against his cheating wife and duplicitous boss. Holloway issued a statement through Pinnacle's PR department, characterizing the presentation as a disgruntled employee's personal vendetta filled with misrepresentations and out-of-context communications. The statement conspicuously avoided directly denying the affair. On the fourth day, Pinnacle's board of directors announced Holloway's temporary leave of absence, a corporate euphemism that typically preceded termination. By the end of the week, Talia had been escorted from Pinnacle's offices, her employment terminated for violations of confidentiality agreements. Devin watched it all unfold from his anonymous apartment, occasionally providing Neil or Lydia with additional evidence to counter false narratives or legal threats. The story eventually began to fade from headlines, replaced by newer scandals and crises. 3 weeks after the Christmas party, Devin returned to Montgomery Construction, reporting to his new position at the East Coast Division. As Harrison had suggested, the change of scenery offered a fresh start. Colleagues treated him with a mixture of awe and caution. The man who had brought down a CEO and exposed corporate deception through a Christmas party presentation had become something of a legend. The divorce proceeded without contest, Talia agreeing to Devin's terms rather than risking further exposure in court. The house sold quickly, providing Devin with capital to purchase a new home in his new city. He had won, professionally, financially, and in the court of public opinion. Yet victory felt hollow in the quiet moments. In engineering terms, he had successfully demolished a compromise structure, but he had not yet begun to rebuild. Chapter 8. Reconstruction. Spring arrived with a metaphorical appropriateness that wasn't lost on Devin. For months had passed since the Christmas party, and the scandal had largely faded from public consciousness, relegated to occasional references in business articles about corporate governance or workplace relationships. His life had acquired a new rhythm in Philadelphia, where the East Coast division of Montgomery Construction was headquartered. His new apartment overlooked Rittenhouse Square, offering a view of trees budding with fresh leaves and people emerging from winter hibernation to enjoy the warming weather. Devin stood at the window, coffee in hand, watching a young couple walk hand in hand through the park, their easy intimacy a reminder of what he had lost, or perhaps more accurately, what had been taken from him. The divorce had been finalized 2 weeks earlier, the legal proceedings swift and clinical. Talia hadn't contested any of his terms, her attorney communicating that she simply wanted to put this unfortunate situation behind her. According to Neil, who still fed Devin occasional updates, she had relocated to Phoenix and taken a position with a small marketing firm, a significant step down from her executive role at Pinnacle. Holloway had fared worse. After his temporary leave became permanent termination, Pinnacle's board had filed suit against him for breach of fiduciary duty, using much of the evidence Devin had presented at the Christmas party. Shareholders had initiated a separate class action lawsuit alleging securities fraud related to the misrepresented merger. His wife Vivian, true to her word, had secured a divorce settlement that stripped him of nearly half his assets, including their Park Avenue apartment and Hamptons estate. Professionally, Devin had thrived in his new position. The East Coast Division was undertaking an ambitious redevelopment project in a historically significant Baltimore neighborhood, and his structural expertise had proven invaluable. Harrison Montgomery had begun mentioning Devin in company-wide communications again, a sign that his official rehabilitation was underway. Yet despite these external markers of success, Devin felt incomplete. The rage that had fueled his meticulous revenge had burned itself out, leaving behind a landscape cleared of debris but not yet rebuilt. He had destroyed what needed to be destroyed, but had not yet created anything new. His phone chimed with a calendar alert. Dinner with Cassandra Reeves, the division's legal counsel. It wasn't a date, exactly. More of a professional courtesy extended to the new guy with a notorious background. Still, it marked his first social engagement with a woman since Talia, and he felt an unexpected nervousness as he changed into casual evening attire. Cassandra was waiting at the restaurant when he arrived, her professional demeanor softened by a gauzy blue blouse and her dark hair freed from its usual tight bun. At 45, she radiated a confidence that came from competence rather than artifice. "You found the place," she smiled, rising slightly as he approached. "Your directions were precise," Devin replied, taking the seat across from her. "Though I'm still learning the city. Philadelphia takes time," Cassandra acknowledged. "It doesn't reveal itself to newcomers easily. Unlike people," Devin said wryly, "who sometimes hide in plain sight." A brief awkwardness descended as the oblique reference to his past hung between them. Cassandra met it directly. "I wasn't going to bring it up," she said, "but since you've opened the door, your Christmas party presentation has become something of a case study in my legal circles. Highly effective, but ethically complex." Devin appreciated her frankness. "Do you think I went too far?" "I think," she said carefully, "that betrayal warrants consequences. But public humiliation raises questions of proportionality. They were planning to dismantle the company and fire dozens of people," Devin reminded her. The public nature of the response matched the potential harm. "Is that the only reason it was public?" Cassandra's dark eyes held his. "Or did you want them to suffer the way you had?" Devin considered deflecting, but found himself answering honestly. "Both. I won't pretend it wasn't personal. But the company's interests aligned with my need for justice." "Vengeance," Cassandra corrected gently. Is there a difference? Justice restores balance. Vengeance often creates new imbalances. Their conversation was interrupted by the waiter taking their orders. When they were alone again, Devin steered toward less fraught territory, asking about Cassandra's background and experience with Montgomery Construction. She had been with the company for 15 years, having joined directly from a prestigious law firm where she'd felt constrained by corporate culture. Harrison recruited me personally, she explained. He said he wanted an attorney who could tell him when he was wrong, not just find ways to justify what he wanted to do. That sounds like Harrison, Devin agreed. Integrity above all. Which is why your situation created such a paradox for him, Cassandra observed. Your methods violated professional norms, but your motives aligned with the company's core values. As the evening progressed, their conversation flowed more naturally, touching on architecture, Philadelphia history, and their shared appreciation for structural elegance. Hers in legal arguments, his in physical buildings. Devin found himself genuinely enjoying her company, her incisive mind and subtle humor a refreshing change from recent months of isolation. When they parted outside the restaurant, Cassandra offered a handshake rather than the customary cheek kiss. This was pleasant, she said. We should do it again sometime. As colleagues, she added with a small smile, until you've finished rebuilding. Is it that obvious? Devin asked. To someone who's been through it, yes. Deconstruction is the easy part. Reconstruction takes longer. Her insight followed Devin home, lingering as he stood again at his window, overlooking the now darkened square. Cassandra was right. He had demolished effectively, but had barely begun rebuilding. The foundation had been laid in his new position and city, but the structure of his new life remained skeletal, uninhabitable. The next morning, Devin made two decisions. First, he would stop monitoring updates about Talia and Holloway. Their continued downfall no longer provided satisfaction, only a diminishing echo of his anger. Second, he would find something to build outside of work, a community connection, a creative pursuit, something generative rather than destructive. He began with small steps. He joined a neighborhood association focused on historic preservation, where his engineering expertise proved valuable in efforts to save architecturally significant buildings from demolition. He started taking weekend photography classes, finding unexpected pleasure in capturing structural details often overlooked by casual observers. 6 weeks after their dinner, Devin invited Cassandra to review photographs he'd taken of potentially compromised historic buildings in the Fishtown district. Their professional collaboration evolved gradually into friendship, her measured perspective helping him process his experience in ways therapy never had. You know what still bothers me? Devin admitted during one of their now regular dinners. Not that Talia cheated, but that I never saw it coming. I'm trained to spot structural weaknesses, yet I miss them in my own marriage. Different expertise, Cassandra replied. Engineers look for physical signs of stress. Relationships require emotional literacy. I thought I had that too. Perhaps you did, but love creates blind spots. We see what we expect to see. In July, an unexpected communication arrived from Harrison Montgomery. The founder was retiring at year's end and restructuring the company leadership. He requested Devin's return to headquarters to oversee a special projects division, a promotion that would place him on the executive team. Your technical skills were never in question, Harrison wrote, and you've demonstrated remarkable resilience in the aftermath of personal adversity. The company needs leaders who can identify threats and respond decisively, even when it's difficult. Devin was considering the offer when Neil called with news. Pinnacle Industries was being acquired by a larger conglomerate following months of financial struggles precipitated by the failed merger and subsequent scandals. Holloway's replacement couldn't stabilize things, Neil explained. The stock never recovered. The board finally surrendered to a takeover offer. And Holloway himself? Working for a small development firm in Chicago. Massive step down. Word is he's drinking heavily and alienating what few business connections survived the scandal. Devin felt a curious emptiness where satisfaction should have been. And Montgomery Construction? Thriving. Harrison credits you with saving the company from a disastrous merger. That's not public, of course, but internally, your stock has risen considerably. After hanging up, Devin walked to Rittenhouse Square and sat watching children play by the fountain. Their unburdened laughter struck him as miraculous. The human capacity for joy despite a world full of betrayal and disappointment. That evening, he called Cassandra. Harrison's offered me a position back at headquarters. Special Projects Division. Are you going to take it? I'm not sure, Devin admitted. Philadelphia has been good for me. Going back feels like revisiting the past. Or building on it, Cassandra suggested. The company's not the same, and neither are you. Would you still be my legal counsel if I accepted? The question revealed more than he'd intended. No, she replied softly. I'd be your colleague on the East Coast, hoping your reconstruction continues successfully wherever you are. Devin recognized the gentle boundaries she was establishing. Their friendship had value, but she wouldn't be part of his decision calculus. He respected her clarity. After a week of deliberation, Devin accepted Harrison's offer with one condition. He would split his time between headquarters and the East Coast Division, maintaining connections to both. Harrison agreed immediately, recognizing the strategic advantages of Devin's continued involvement with the Baltimore project. As summer transitioned to fall, Devin found himself traveling regularly between his new life in Philadelphia and his former home city. The landscape of his past had changed. Montgomery Construction had moved to new headquarters, his former house belonged to a young family, and even his favorite coffee shop had been replaced by a boutique selling artisanal candles. During one such visit, Devin encountered Lydia Foster at a downtown restaurant. She waved him over to her table where she was dining alone, reviewing documents between courses. The prodigal engineer returns, she said with a wry smile. How's the Special Projects Division? Challenging in the right ways, Devin replied, sliding into the chair opposite her. Thanks for your support during everything. Lydia set aside her papers. I believe in protecting the company's interests. Our interests aligned. That's what I told Cassandra Reeves, Devin nodded. She suggested my motivations were more vengeful than protective. They could be both, Lydia said pragmatically. Vengeance and justice aren't always mutually exclusive, but they have different half-lives. Justice sustains, vengeance depletes. You sound like a philosopher, not a corporate attorney. 30 years in business teaches you about human nature. Speaking of which, Lydia's expression turned serious. I should tell you that Talia applied for a position with one of our marketing contractors last month. Devin felt an unexpected twinge. Here? In this city? Yes. The contractor asked me about her, given her previous connection to Montgomery. What did you tell them? The truth, Lydia said simply. That she had violated confidentiality agreements and engaged in conflicts of interest. They didn't hire her. Devin absorbed this information silently. Once, he would have felt vindicated. Now, he felt only a dull recognition that actions continued to have consequences long after the initial impact. If you'd recommended her, I wouldn't have objected, he said finally. Lydia's eyebrows rose. Really? That's evolutionary. I'm trying to rebuild, not just survive the demolition. Good, Lydia nodded approvingly. Though for the record, I wouldn't have recommended her regardless. Business is business. That night in his hotel room, Devin reflected on how different his reaction had been from what he might have expected months ago. The need to see Talia continue suffering had diminished, replaced by a measured detachment. Not forgiveness, exactly, but a loosening of anger's grip. The next morning, as Devin packed to return to Philadelphia, his phone rang with a number he didn't recognize. Devin Mercer, he answered. It's Vivian Holloway, the familiar voice replied. I thought you should know that Bryce had a heart attack yesterday. He's in intensive care. Devin sat on the edge of the hotel bed. I'm sorry to hear that. How serious? Serious enough. The doctors say stress, alcohol, and poor lifestyle choices caught up with him. Her tone remained matter of fact. I'm not calling for sympathy. I thought you should know because if he doesn't survive, certain protections might expire. Devin understood her meaning immediately. Both of them had maintained leverage through evidence that could cause further damage if either Holloway or Talia attempted retaliation. Holloway's death would change that calculus. I appreciate the heads up, Devin said. Have you heard from Talia? She's at the hospital, Vivian confirmed, playing the devoted mistress, though I suspect it's financial desperation more than affection. She seems to think there might be something for her in his will. Is there? No, Vivian said with cold certainty. I made sure of that during the divorce. Whatever he has left goes to our children. After disconnecting, Devin sat motionless, processing this development. Holloway fighting for his life, Talia at his bedside, hoping for financial salvation. It was the culmination of consequences set in motion by their own choices, accelerated but not caused by his Christmas party revelation. He called Cassandra, needing her balanced perspective. Holloway's had a heart attack. He might not survive. How do you feel about that? She asked after a moment's silence. I'm not sure, Devin admitted. Not jubilant, not devastated, just aware that everything has a logical conclusion. The engineer's view of mortality, Cassandra observed. Structural failure as the inevitable end of accumulated stress. Something like that. If he survives, she said carefully, have you considered that this might be the moment to truly complete your reconstruction? Not with forgiveness, that's not required, but with a final release. Devin understood what she was suggesting. Let go of the remaining leverage, the insurance policy of damaging information. Yes, not for their benefit, but for yours. The question lingered with Devin on his flight back to Philadelphia. What would it mean to fully release his grip on the past? The evidence he'd collected had served its purpose, preventing retaliation, ensuring consequences, protecting his future. But maintaining it, checking periodically that his digital safeguards remained in place, required a continued investment in events he claimed to have moved beyond. Holloway survived the heart attack, though doctors warned that his long-term prognosis depended on significant lifestyle changes. Devin learned this through a brief update from Vivian, who had maintained a distant but pragmatic connection with him since their unusual alliance. 3 days later, Devin made his decision. He systematically dismantled the elaborate security system protecting his evidence archive. He didn't delete the files. An engineer never discards information that might be structurally relevant, but he removed the automated protocols that would have distributed damaging materials if anything happened to him. It wasn't forgiveness. It was completion. The controlled demolition had served its purpose. The new structure no longer required the old support systems. That evening, he called Cassandra. You were right about letting go. I've dismantled the fail-safes. Good, she said simply. How does it feel? Like setting down a heavy weight I'd gotten so used to carrying I'd forgotten it was there. That's reconstruction, Cassandra affirmed. Not returning to what was before, but building something new that can stand on its own. When Devin returned to headquarters the following week, Harrison Montgomery invited him to lunch in his private dining room. The elderly founder looked frielier than ever, but his mind remained sharp. I wanted to see you before the retirement announcement goes public, Harrison explained. To tell you personally that you're being considered for the executive leadership team. Devin was genuinely surprised. Even after everything, because of everything, Harrison countered. You've demonstrated not just technical excellence, but ethical conviction and resilience. The board sees that too, despite their initial misgivings about your theatrical approach to corporate communication. They shared a genuine laugh, the first moment of true levity between them since the Christmas party. There's something else, Harrison continued, his expression growing serious. I've been watching you these past months. The way you've rebuilt yourself after devastation. It reminds me of myself after my first marriage failed. I didn't know you'd been married before, Devin said, surprised. Few do. It was before I founded the company. My first wife left me for my business partner. They embezzled startup capital I'd spent years accumulating. Harrison's eyes took on a distant look. I could have been destroyed by it, financially and emotionally. Instead, I used it as motivation to build something lasting on my own terms. Montgomery Construction. Yes, build on a foundation of integrity precisely because I'd experienced its absence. Harrison reached across the table, his gnarled hand surprisingly strong as it gripped Devin's. Pain can destroy us or transform us. You've chosen transformation. That's why you belong in leadership. As autumn deepened, Devin divided his time between Philadelphia and headquarters, balancing his new executive responsibilities with ongoing projects. His friendship with Cassandra evolved gradually, their professional respect and shared experiences creating a foundation more honest than what he'd had with Talia. In December, as the anniversary of the Christmas party approached, Montgomery Construction announced a structural reorganization following Harrison's retirement. Devin was named Executive Vice President of Special Projects and Innovation, a role that recognized both his technical expertise and strategic vision. The annual Christmas party, now rebranded as a winter celebration, was held at a different venue, a deliberate choice to create distance from the previous year's drama. Devin attended with quiet confidence, accepting congratulations on his promotion and deflecting the occasional reference to his infamous presentation. During the evening, Neil approached with a glass of champagne. 1 year later, he observed, "Quite a different scene." "For the better," Devin agreed. "I saw an update on Holloway yesterday," Neil mentioned casually. "He's moved to Florida. Apparently, the Chicago firm let him go after his health issues." Devin nodded, but offered no comment. Holloway's continuing struggles no longer provided even a flicker of satisfaction. "And Tali is working for a startup in Seattle now," Neil continued, watching Devin's reaction. "Social media marketing or something." "I hope it works out for her," Devin said, and was surprised to realize he meant it. Neil studied him with newfound respect. "You really have moved on, haven't you?" Had to, Devin shrugged. Carrying that weight was preventing new construction. Later that evening, as guests began departing, Devin stepped outside onto the venue's terrace. The December air was crisp, the city skyline glittering against the night sky. He had helped design several of those buildings, had ensured their structural integrity through careful calculation and precise engineering. His phone vibrated with a text from Cassandra. "Thinking of you today. Proud of your reconstruction. Dinner tomorrow?" Devin smiled, typing his reply. "Looking forward to it. New blueprints to discuss." As he looked back at the celebration winding down inside, Devin reflected on the engineering principle that had guided his career. Structural integrity required both strength and flexibility, the ability to withstand pressure while adapting to changing conditions. The same, he now understood, applied to rebuilding a life after betrayal. He had been thorough in his demolition, precise in his revenge. But the true victory lay not in Holloway's downfall or Talia's humiliation, but in the structure he had built from the rubble, a life with new connections, renewed purpose, and the wisdom that came from surviving catastrophic failure. The architect of vengeance had completed his design. The engineer of reconstruction was just getting started. Chapter 9. Structural Integrity. 18 months after the Christmas party that had changed everything, Devin stood at the podium in Montgomery Construction's auditorium, presenting the quarterly results for his Special Projects division. The numbers told a compelling story. 3 major developments ahead of schedule, innovation initiatives generating substantial cost savings, and a team retention rate that led the company. In conclusion, Devin addressed the assembled executives. Structural integrity isn't just about physical buildings. It's about creating systems that remain sound under pressure, that adapt to changing conditions without compromising core principles. From her seat in the front row, Lydia Foster nodded appreciatively at the metaphor. Beside her, Neil, recently promoted to operations director, made notes on his tablet. The new CEO, Patricia Hernandez, watched with the careful assessment that had become her trademark since taking over from Harrison Montgomery. After the presentation, Patricia approached Devin as executives filed out of the room. "Impressive results," she acknowledged. "Harrison was right about your potential." "Thank you," Devin replied. "How was he doing?" "Enjoying retirement more than he expected," Patricia smiled. "Though he still calls weekly to offer suggestions." They walked together toward the executive suite, discussing upcoming projects and strategic initiatives. Patricia had been an external hire, brought in from a rival construction firm to lead Montgomery after Harrison's retirement. Initially skeptical about Devin, given his controversial history, she had gradually come to value his combination of technical expertise and strategic insight. "The board meeting next week," Patricia said as they reached her office. "I want you to present the riverfront development proposal personally." Your team's approach to integrating historical preservation with modern sustainability is exactly the direction I want this company to be known for. I'll be prepared, Devin assured her. One more thing, Patricia added, her tone shifting slightly. We're bidding on the Phoenix Convention Center expansion. The RFP came in yesterday. Devin maintained a neutral expression, though the location registered immediately. Phoenix, where Talia had relocated after the divorce. Sounds like an excellent opportunity. It is, Patricia agreed. But there's a complication. The marketing firm handling the RFP documentation is Ascena Partners. Your ex-wife is their director of client relations. So Talia had advanced in her career, rebuilding professionally just as he had. That won't be a problem, Devin said with genuine equanimity. Ancient history. Patricia studied him carefully. You're sure? Because I need to know if there's any potential for complications. Absolutely certain, Devin replied. We be bidding on the project's merits, not personal connections. That's integrity. After leaving Patricia's office, Devin stepped into the spring sunshine, deciding to walk the 8 blocks to his downtown apartment rather than taking his usual car service. The news about Talia's professional connection to a potential Montgomery project didn't disturb him as it once might have. The thought of potential interaction with his ex-wife generated neither anxiety nor anticipation, just a pragmatic assessment of professional boundaries to be maintained. His phone buzzed with a text from Cassandra, just landed in Philly. Still on for dinner? Their relationship had evolved gradually over the past year, moving from collegial friendship to something deeper with careful deliberation on both sides. Devin had been transparent about his hesitancy to rush into another serious relationship, and Cassandra had been equally clear about her desire for partnership rather than casual connection. They had found a middle path, exclusive but unhurried, building trust through consistent honesty rather than romantic intensity. Looking forward to it, he replied. News to share. That evening at Cassandra's favorite Italian restaurant, Devin explained the Phoenix project and Talia's unexpected connection to it. How do you feel about it? Cassandra asked, her direct approach one of the qualities he most appreciated about her. Professionally curious, Devin answered honestly. Personally indifferent. It's been almost 2 years. Cassandra nodded thoughtfully. The final test of reconstruction isn't absence of contact with the past, but the ability to engage with it without being destabilized. The structural engineer in me appreciates that analogy, Devin smiled. Speaking of tests, how was the deposition in Baltimore? As Cassandra described her day, Devin reflected on the ease between them. The natural flow of conversation, the genuine interest in each other's work, the comfort of shared values. Unlike his relationship with Talia, which had been built partly on mutual ambition and the excitement of achievement, his connection with Cassandra centered on reciprocal respect and ethical alignment. I've been thinking, Cassandra said as they lingered over dessert, about your lease ending next month, and mine in August. Devin raised an eyebrow. Are you proposing a real estate consolidation strategy? I'm suggesting we consider cohabitation, she replied with mock formality. Economically efficient, logistically practical, and her professional facade softened into genuine vulnerability, emotionally appealing. At least to me. Devin reached across the table for her hand. To me as well. But are you sure? My history is part of you, Cassandra finished. Just as mine is part of me. We're not 20-somethings pretending to be perfect for each other. We're adults choosing partnership with clear eyes. Their decision to move in together proceeded with the thoughtful deliberation that characterized their relationship. They found a spacious apartment in a historic building that Devin's firm had actually renovated years earlier, combining his appreciation for architectural integrity with her love of pre-war details. In June, the Phoenix Convention Center bid moved forward. Montgomery Construction was shortlisted alongside 2 competitors, necessitating an in-person presentation to the selection committee. Patricia assigned Devin to lead the presentation team, a decision he accepted without reservation. You'll fly out Monday, she instructed during their planning meeting. Neil and the design team will join you Tuesday morning. The presentation is Wednesday at 10 a.m. Any specific concerns about the competition? Devin asked. Westridge Developers is underbidding us by about 8%, Patricia replied. But their sustainability specs are weaker. The third contender, Apex Construction, has a local advantage but less experience with projects of this scale. The Phoenix trip was scheduled for the week Devin and Cassandra had planned to move into their new apartment. I could try to get someone else assigned, he offered that evening as they discussed logistics. Don't be ridiculous, Cassandra replied pragmatically. It's an important project. I can manage the movers and initial setup. Just be prepared for my organizational systems when you return. Your sock index and alphabetized spice rack. Devin teased. Among other improvements to your bachelor chaos, she smiled. On Monday morning, Devin flew to Phoenix with the presentation materials and technical specifications. The June heat hit him like a physical force as he exited the airport terminal, a stark contrast to the mild, early summer weather he'd left behind. At the hotel, he spent the afternoon reviewing the bid documents and making final adjustments to the presentation. That evening, he had dinner with the convention center's facilities director, a preliminary meeting to establish rapport before the formal presentation. Montgomery Construction has an impressive portfolio, the director commented as they discussed previous projects. Though I must admit, when I first saw your name, I thought, isn't that the guy from that Christmas party video that went viral a couple years ago? Devin maintained his professional demeanor. That was an unusual situation, not our standard approach to corporate communications. The facilities director laughed. Well, it certainly made an impression, but your reputation since then speaks for itself. The Riverside development in Baltimore is exactly the kind of innovative approach we're looking for. After dinner, Devin returned to his hotel room and checked in with Cassandra, who reported that the moving company had confirmed their Wednesday appointment. Everything's on schedule, she assured him. Focus on winning the bid. Tuesday brought Neil and the design team to Phoenix. They spent the day fine-tuning their presentation, addressing potential questions, and reviewing the convention center's existing infrastructure. Devin led them through a comprehensive preparation session, his attention to detail ensuring that every aspect of the proposal was solid. That evening, as the team dispersed for dinner, Devin opted to stay at the hotel, ordering room service while he made final notes. As he waited for his meal to arrive, he received an unexpected text from an unknown number. Heard you're in Phoenix for the convention center bid. Coffee tomorrow after your presentation? Talia. Devin stared at the message, momentarily disoriented by this intrusion from his past. How'd she known he was in town? Presumably through professional channels related to the bid. After brief consideration, he replied, professional courtesy coffee only. 2 p.m. at the hotel lobby cafe if our presentation ends on schedule. Her response came quickly. Understood. See you then. Devin called Cassandra immediately, explaining the unexpected contact. I can easily decline, he concluded. Say something came up. Why would you? Cassandra asked pragmatically. If you're truly indifferent, a brief, professional interaction isn't threatening. Unless you're concerned about residual feelings? Not at all, Devin assured her. It just seemed appropriate to discuss it with you. I appreciate that, Cassandra said warmly. Transparency builds trust. Have your coffee, satisfy whatever professional or personal curiosity exists, and then come home to our new apartment, where, by the way, your books are already arranged by subject matter on the living room shelves. Alphabetically within categories, I assume. Of course, I'm not a barbarian. Their easy banter dispelled any tension the unexpected contact might have created. After they hung up, Devin returned to his presentation notes with undisturbed focus. Wednesday morning, Montgomery Construction's presentation to the selection committee proceeded flawlessly. Devin led with an overview of their approach, emphasizing the integration of sustainable technologies with respect for the existing structure's historical elements. Neil followed with technical specifications, and the design team presented architectural renderings that visibly impressed the committee members. During the Q&A session, Devin addressed concerns about timeline and budget, drawing on his extensive experience to provide realistic assurances without overpromising. By the session's conclusion, the committee chairman was nodding appreciatively. Thank you for a thorough presentation, he said as they wrapped up. We'll be making our decision within 2 weeks. Based on what we've seen today, Montgomery Construction will certainly be given serious consideration. After the team dispersed, Neil and the designers heading to the airport for their return flight, Devin remaining for his coffee appointment. He changed from his formal presentation suit to more casual attire. Business concluded, he felt no need to maintain the executive persona. The hotel lobby cafe was moderately busy with afternoon patrons when Devin arrived at exactly 2 p.m. He scanned the space, not immediately spotting Talia until she raised a hand from a corner table partially obscured by a decorative plant. As he approached, Devin noted the changes in his ex-wife with detached observation. Her auburn hair was shorter now, styled in a sleek bob that framed her face differently. She had lost weight, appearing more angular than he remembered. Her expression as he approached contained apprehension beneath a professional smile. "Devin," she stood as he reached the table. "Thank you for agreeing to meet." "Talia," he nodded, taking the seat across from her. No handshake, no kiss on the cheek, just the acknowledgement of presence. A momentary awkwardness hung between them until a server approached for Devin's order. "Just black coffee, thank you." "Your presentation went well?" Talia asked after the server departed. "Very," Devin replied neutrally, "though I'm sure you'll get the official feedback through proper channels." "Of course." She fidgeted with her napkin. "This isn't actually about the convention center bid. I mean, not directly. I knew you were coming to Phoenix because of it, but that's not why I wanted to meet." Devin waited, neither encouraging nor discouraging her explanation. "I wanted to see you in person," Talia continued, her professional composure slipping to reveal genuine emotion. "To say things I should have said a long time ago. About how sorry I am. For everything." Devin absorbed this unexpected apology with muted surprise. "Why now? It's been almost 2 years." "Because I'm finally in a place where I can take full responsibility," she replied. "After everything fell apart, I blamed you for the public humiliation. Then I blamed Bryce for making promises he couldn't keep. I spent months angry at everyone but myself." The server returned with Devin's coffee, creating a brief respite in the conversation. When they were alone again, Talia continued. "It took losing everything, my career, my marriage, my self-respect, to finally face what I'd done. The choices I made, the people I hurt." She met his eyes directly. "Especially you. What I did was inexcusable." "Yes," Devin agreed simply. "It was." Talia nodded, accepting his blunt assessment. "I know an apology doesn't fix anything. I'm not asking for forgiveness or friendship or anything really. I just needed you to know that I understand now, the damage I caused, and that I'm truly sorry for it." Devin sipped his coffee, considering his response. The anger that would once have accompanied this conversation was absent, replaced by a calm detachment that bordered on compassion. Not for her specifically, but for the universal human experience of facing consequences. "I appreciate you saying that," he said finally. "It matters that you understand what happened and why." "I do," Talia assured him. "And I want you to know I'm building something different now. A life based on different values." She hesitated. Have you been able to move forward?" "Yes," Devin replied without elaboration. "Good," Talia nodded. "You deserve that." She glanced at her watch. "I should get back to the office. Thank you for meeting me. It means more than you know." As they prepared to part, she asked one final question. "Do you think you'll ever be able to forgive me?" Devin considered this carefully. "I already have in the way that matters. I've let go of the anger. But forgiveness doesn't mean restoration. Some structural damage can't be repaired, only built around or built over." "The engineer's perspective," Talia said with a sad smile. "Always about structural integrity." "It served me well," Devin acknowledged. They parted without physical contact, a professional nod their only farewell gesture. As Devin watched Talia walk away, he felt neither regret nor nostalgia, only the quiet satisfaction of confirmed reconstruction. Her presence had created no emotional instability, no compromise to the new structure he had built. On the flight home that evening, Devin reflected on the unexpected encounter. Talia's apology had been genuine, her remorse apparent. Yet it changed nothing about the past and little about the present. What mattered wasn't her growth or contrition, but his own completed transformation. He arrived at the new apartment late that night to find Cassandra asleep on the couch, surrounded by unpacked boxes and organizational supplies. The space already reflected their combined aesthetic, his minimalist furniture complemented by her warmer textiles and artwork. Even half unpacked, it felt more like home than any place he had lived since the divorce. Devin gently woke Cassandra, who blinked sleepily up at him. "You're back," she murmured. "How was the presentation? And the coffee?" "The presentation was excellent. I think we'll get the bid," he replied, settling beside her. The coffee was clarifying. She wanted to apologize. "And did that matter to you?" Cassandra asked, fully awake now. "Not in the way it would have once," Devin said thoughtfully. "It was like examining the foundation of a building I no longer occupy. Intellectually interesting, but emotionally distant." Cassandra nodded understandingly. "The final confirmation of successful reconstruction." "Exactly," Devin agreed, pulling her closer. "Speaking of reconstruction, I see you've been busy." "Just the beginning," Cassandra smiled, gesturing to the partially organized space around them. "The structural elements are in place, but the finishing details will take time." "We have plenty of that," Devin assured her. "And solid foundations." 3 weeks later, Montgomery Construction was awarded the Phoenix Convention Center expansion project. Devin would oversee the project remotely, with occasional site visits managed by Neil's team. The contract represented a significant achievement for his division and validation of his leadership. At the contract signing ceremony, attended virtually by Devin from Philadelphia, the convention center director made a point of praising Montgomery's innovative approach and commitment to sustainability. Talia was present in her professional capacity, but maintained appropriate distance, their brief eye contact across the video screen acknowledging their new reality. Former spouses who had moved on to separate lives, connected now only by a professional intersection that would soon conclude. That evening, Devin and Cassandra hosted a small dinner party in their now fully organized apartment, their first social gathering in the new space. Guests included Neil and his wife, who had flown in specifically for the weekend, Lydia Foster, and several colleagues from both headquarters and the East Coast Division. As conversations flowed around the dining table, Neil raised his glass. "To Devin, who showed us all that structural integrity applies to careers and relationships as much as buildings, and who managed to turn a personal catastrophe into professional triumph." And to Cassandra, Lydia added with uncharacteristic warmth, who recognized a solid foundation when she saw one, despite some previous renovation work. Laughter rippled around the table as glasses clinked. Devin glanced at Cassandra, whose eyes conveyed private understanding of how far he had come. From the architect of vengeance to the engineer of reconstruction, from controlled demolition to thoughtful rebuilding. Later, after their guests had departed and they stood together on their small balcony overlooking the city, Cassandra placed her hand over Devin's as they gazed at the Philadelphia skyline. "You know what I admire most about your journey?" she asked softly. "Not the professional success or even the dignified way you handled today's interaction with Talia. It's that you didn't let the betrayal define you." Devin considered this. "For a while, it did define me. The revenge consumed every thought, every action. But it didn't consume you permanently," Cassandra pointed out. "You recognized when the demolition was complete and it was time to rebuild. Many people never make that transition." "I had help," Devin acknowledged, turning to face her. "Your perspective kept me grounded when I might have lost sight of the future." 2 months later, Montgomery Construction's quarterly board meeting included a special presentation by Harrison Montgomery, making a rare appearance since his retirement. The elderly founder, now using a wheelchair but still commanding respect with his presence, had requested time to address the leadership team. "When I built this company," Harrison began, his voice softer but still carrying authority, "I imagined it would last beyond me. But I worried about what would happen when I stepped away. Would the foundation I laid be strong enough? Would the structure maintain its integrity under new stewardship?" He gestured toward Patricia and the executive team, including Devin. "What I've witnessed over this past year has exceeded my expectations. This company isn't just surviving. It's evolving while maintaining the core principles of integrity, excellence, and innovation. Harrison's gaze settled on Devin. Some of you faced personal earthquakes that would have destroyed lesser individuals. Instead, you used those experiences to strengthen not just yourselves, but this organization. You've demonstrated that true structural integrity isn't about preventing damage. It's about creating something that can withstand damage and emerge stronger. After the meeting, Harrison asked Devin to stay behind for a private conversation. When they were alone, the founder reached into his briefcase and withdrew a small wooden box. "I had this made for you," he said, handing it to Devin. A reminder. Inside was a beautifully crafted architectural model, a miniature replica of Devin's first major project for Montgomery Construction, the Riverside Community Center that had established his reputation as an innovative engineer. "You remember this building?" Harrison asked. "Of course," Devin nodded. "My first solo design after joining the company. What you may not remember is that the original foundation had to be scrapped after we discovered unstable soil conditions. The entire project was delayed 3 months while you redesigned the structural support system." Devin smiled at the memory. "We had to go deeper, use different materials." "Yes," Harrison agreed. "And the result was a stronger building than originally planned. One that's still standing 15 years later, despite 2 major floods that damaged surrounding structures." He tapped the model gently. "That's the lesson I wanted you to have. Sometimes what appears to be a catastrophic setback forces us to dig deeper, to build differently. And the result is ultimately superior to what we first envisioned." As spring turned to summer, Devin's professional success continued to grow. The Phoenix Convention Center project progressed ahead of schedule, earning accolades for innovative sustainability features. His Special Projects division expanded to handle international consultations, establishing Montgomery Construction as a leader in adaptive reuse of historic structures. His personal reconstruction had solidified as well. His relationship with Cassandra deepened into a partnership built on mutual respect and shared values. They balanced demanding careers with a home life that offered genuine sanctuary from professional pressures. On a warm August evening, nearly 2 years after the Christmas party revelation, Devin received an unexpected email from Marlene Vasquez, the private investigator who had helped gather evidence against Talia and Holloway. "Thought you'd want to know. Holloway passed away yesterday. Heart attack, his second in 18 months. No suspicious circumstances. Just the final payment for a life of stress and excess." Devin read the message twice, feeling neither satisfaction nor sorrow, just acknowledgement of a life concluded, a chapter fully closed. He forwarded the message to Vivian Holloway with a simple note: "My condolences for your children's loss." Her reply came hours later: "The final structural failure of a compromised foundation. Thank you for your part in ensuring appropriate consequences before the end. Take care, engineer." That weekend, Devin took Cassandra to visit the Riverside Community Center Harrison had memorialized in the model, his first major project, now serving as a vibrant hub for the neighborhood it anchored. They walked through the building, Devin pointing out the invisible structural elements that had allowed it to withstand environmental challenges over the years. "This is where I learned that sometimes you have to abandon the original plan completely," he explained as they stood on the rooftop garden overlooking the river. "The foundation we initially designed would have failed during the first major flood. The catastrophe we faced during construction forced us to create something fundamentally stronger." Cassandra leaned against the railing beside him, a fitting metaphor for personal reconstruction. "Very fitting," Devin agreed, reaching into his pocket. "Which is why I want to bring you here today." He withdrew a small box, not unlike the one Harrison had given him, but containing something quite different. Inside nested a platinum ring with a simple, elegant diamond. "I've been thinking about structural integrity," Devin said, his voice steady as he opened the box. "About building something meant to last through whatever stresses might come. Something with a foundation strong enough to withstand anything." Cassandra's eyes widened in understanding. "We've both experienced structural failure in previous relationships," Devin continued. "We know what doesn't work, what can't be trusted. but we've also learned how to build something better. He took her hand. Cassandra Reeves, will you marry me? Not because we need each other to be complete, but because together we create something stronger than either of us could alone. Yes, she replied without hesitation. 1,000 times yes. As he slipped the ring onto her finger, she added with characteristic practicality, though I expect a thorough structural analysis of our marriage at regular intervals. Annual inspections, at minimum, Devin agreed with a smile, with immediate attention to any signs of stress. 6 months later, they married in a ceremony that balanced intimacy with celebration. Harrison Montgomery attended despite his failing health, determined to witness what he called the final proof of successful reconstruction. Neil served as best man, quietly proud of his friend's journey from devastation to renewal. At the reception, Devin raised his glass for a toast that brought the room to attentive silence. To structural integrity, he said, his gaze meeting Cassandra's across the table. Not the absence of damage, but the strength to withstand it. Not the prevention of storms, but the ability to remain standing when they pass. As glasses clinked around the room, Devin reflected on the path that had led him here, from the shocking discovery of betrayal to the calculated revenge of the Christmas party revelation, and finally to this moment of genuine contentment. The architect of vengeance had completed his design and stepped aside. The engineer of reconstruction had built something meant to last. Later that evening, as they shared their first dance as husband and wife, Cassandra leaned close to whisper in his ear, "You know what makes our foundation different from your previous one?" "What's that?" Devin asked, his hand warm against the small of her back. "Truth at every level," she replied. "No hidden fractures, no compromised materials. Just honest construction from the ground up." Devin nodded, understanding the profound simplicity of her observation. In engineering terms, their relationship had been built with full knowledge of potential stresses, with materials tested and proven, with connections designed to distribute weight rather than concentrate it. In human terms, they had built love on a foundation of integrity. As the dance concluded, Devin glanced around the room at the life he had constructed from the rubble of betrayal. Colleagues who had become friends, a career that had transcended setbacks, and now a marriage built on mutual respect and clear-eyed choice rather than idealized illusion. The betrayal's price had been high, paid by all involved in different currencies. Talia had lost position and reputation before slowly rebuilding a more modest life. Holloway had lost everything, including eventually his life, never recovering from the cascade of consequences triggered by his own choices. Devin had lost the marriage and life he had thought secure, suffering public humiliation and private grief. But in the architecture of consequences, Devin alone had found a way to transform destruction into creation. The price of betrayal had purchased, ultimately, a life of greater authenticity and deeper connection than he had known before. As he and Cassandra walked out under the stars to begin their married life, Devin recognized the final truth of his journey. Structural integrity wasn't just about withstanding pressure. It was about building something worth preserving in the first place. Something true from foundation to pinnacle. Something that could face any revelation because it contained no deceptions. Something that, unlike betrayal, would stand the test of time. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.